Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by Allstate and CIBC.
Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Alex Hernandez of Primera Hora, which airs weekday mornings on Univision Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your Memorial Day weekend with us. On the show tonight, local doctors on why ending the mask mandate, even for vaccinated people, may be premature. May is Drowning Prevention Awareness Month. Before you hit the beach, we'll talk with a local activist about how to enjoy the city's lake and pools safely. Inside Your Abuelo's American Legion Post, a group of Latino veterans wants to bring new life to a 102-year-old organization and offer community to Latinos who served in the military.
Something that brings you joy, it makes you want to dance.
And just in time for summer, music journalist Sandra Treviño has 5 hot songs to update your playlist. First off tonight, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention surprised many this month by releasing new guidance saying vaccinated people no longer need to wear masks in most indoor settings. The move has led officials in Illinois and Chicago to end mask mandates for those who have gotten their shots and to encourage individuals to essentially use the honor system going forward. Here's the city's top doctor, Allison Arwoody, speaking recently on Chicago Tonight.
It's not like we walk around, we don't have a vaccine passport. We're not wearing something obvious that says whether someone is vaccinated. We certainly are asking people if they are not to do the right thing and wear the mask, but we know not everybody is likely to do that.
But some local doctors say scrapping mask mandates is premature and increases the risk of COVID-19 for essential workers, many of whom are Latino. Joining us to share their perspectives are Dr. Melissa Simon, Vice Chair of Research at the Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, and Dr. Pamela Vergara Rodriguez of Illinois Unidos. She's a physician and of internal medicine and psychiatry serving Cook County. Welcome, both of you. Thank you for joining us. And I want to start with you, Dr. Vergara Rodriguez. You say it's too soon to lift the mask mandate in Chicago, even for vaccinated people. What's your main concern?
There's no question. The number one concern we have is that those who are already most at risk of getting COVID, getting hospitalized and sick from COVID, and dying from COVID are now going to be placed at risk again. The essential workers, los Latinos. We have been holding the workforce ongoing throughout this pandemic, and now, again, prematurely, before we have complete vaccination, these people will also be more exposed by people unmasking.
Dr. Simon, some public health officials say the new guidance will incentivize people to get vaccinated. Do you buy that?
No, actually, I don't. It's too soon. We need to wait a little bit longer. Opening up the economy to advantage businesses, and I understand that completely. There are industries that have been decimated during this pandemic, but it's too soon to do this. It's not health equity approach, which our leaders in CDC and across the country promised they would use a health equity lens, and this is not.
Dr. Vergara Rodriguez, what are some of the remaining roadblocks for Latino Chicagoans who may want to vaccinate but have yet to get it?
There are so many Latinos who are concerned and worried that receiving the vaccination will somehow impact their overall safety in terms of the cost of the vaccine, their access to overall health care, whether it will impact their future documentation status. There are fears, very basic fears, and quite frankly, a lack of access to knowledge about how to access the medical system and how to access general care. And although all of the access points are constantly expanding, we know that there are pockets of Latinos who are still very hard to reach and need a helping hand in a hyper-local way, us helping them understand why vaccination will help us all move forward.
I want to go
if
back.
I may?
Yes,
Oh,
doctor.
sorry.
Yes, go
If I
ahead,
may.
doctor, please.
Yes. In addition, the workplaces in which many of our Latino populations work are not allowing time off for the vaccine. And some Latinos are concerned if they have any side effects, they may not be able to take time off to recover from the vaccine.
And I want to say with you, Dr. Simon, do you think there's a specific metric or threshold when you would be comfortable with local officials easing the mask mandate?
Well, right now, only about a third of our Latino population in Chicago are vaccinated. That's not good enough. Not when we were the ones who have one of the highest mortality rates, the highest COVID positivity rates over this pandemic. It's too soon.
Dr. Vergara Rodriguez, summer events like Lollapalooza and many others actually are returning at full capacity. How do you balance the economic needs of reopening the economy with keeping unvaccinated people safe over the next few months?
No matter how we look at the economic needs on both sides of this situation, both businesses as well as the workers want to get back to work, but it's not going to be worth the cost that it will be to the people if we continue to actually not take the workers into account who will be most impacted by these events, because these are the workers, the hospitality industry, the restaurant workers, the cleaners, the people who actually move around the industry are mainly of Black and brown communities. And those are the people who are likely going to be exposed and become ill. And those are the people that are counting on the public health system to protect their needs. And that's what we're asking now for everyone to get behind this idea. Protect each other.
Now,
Plus, we know the science. We know the science behind COVID, how it spreads. And our leaders, again, told us, promised that they would lead with science and data. And the science shows that in crowded spaces, COVID is most likely to be transmitted, all right, respiratory borne. And so if people are not telling the truth about their vaccine status, they are going to be a high likelihood of spreaders for COVID-19 in the 70,000 estimated participants in Lollapalooza.
Dr. Simon, I have just less than a minute and a half, and I want to go with this last question. What's your advice to individuals who may be confused with all the different messaging over whether or not to keep wearing masks?
My advice is to keep wearing a mask, especially when you are in a crowded space, whether it is in a very crowded outdoor space or in an indoor space, wear a mask, even if you are vaccinated. My second big piece of advice is please get vaccinated.
Well, this is our time. I want to thank Dr. Melissa Simon and Dr. Pamela Vergara Rodriguez for joining us this evening. Thank you both.
Thank you
so much. Get vaccinated.
Thank you. Well, up next, how to safely enjoy Lake Michigan and swimming pools this summer. Please stay with us. Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial start of summer in Chicago. And for many, that means it's time to visit the city's lakefront beaches. But finding the water can also lead to tragedy. According to a 2018 national study by the USA Swimming Foundation, 64% of African American children and 45% of Latino children have low or no swimming ability. That's compared to 40% of Caucasian children. And at least 6 drownings have occurred in Lake Michigan already this year, including 20-year-old Kelvin Soto Crespo, who went missing after his boat capsized. Joining us with more on how to enjoy the water safely this summer is Hallie Quesada, co-founder of the Chicago Alliance for Waterfront Safety. Hallie, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, May is National Drowning Prevention Awareness Month, and drowning is the leading cause of accidental death among children under 4. What resources are out there for the people who want to teach their children water safety or learn themselves?
Yeah, there are lots of resources from the Chicago Park District. They have water safety trainings and really affordable swim lessons in a number of neighborhoods. Then there's lots of private options, the YMCA's, JCC's, Goldfish, Big Blue. I know they can get a little bit pricey at times, but never hesitate to talk to the manager and see what's available to help families out. Often there are nonprofits that help sponsor, or other ways that they can work with families. And a reminder too that all swim lessons are not created equal. A lot of them are teaching kids that the water is fun. And before they learn that it's fun, you really want them to learn to flip and float, because that could save their life.
One predictor for lower swimming ability is household income, unfortunately. Are there low-cost options for learning to swim?
There are. Are there enough? No. But the more people are asking, the more opportunities will come. If you don't have a public pool or access to swim lessons through the park district in your neighborhood, we also recommend asking your schools. When you ask your schools, that sort of moves up the chain of command, and we start to see where there's demand, and where there's demand, new programs start to open.
What do you think people can expect from Chicago's lakefront beaches and public pools for lifeguard protection this summer?
The thing about Chicago lifeguards is they are not on every beach. They are not there at all hours, and they are not there at all times of the year. So lifeguards are really one line of defense, but they're not a foolproof protection. So before you plan on entering the water, check the Park District website and make sure that lifeguards will be there. And make sure you're checking in with your alderman too. If you appreciate lifeguards, let your alderman know so that they can communicate back to the Park District that we need more lifeguards to protect our beaches. In 2010, lifeguards were, yeah.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, in 2010, we had lifeguards from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. Rahm Emanuel cut that back to save about $700,000 a year. And we do have several drownings every year during hours that used to be protected.
What do you think is the ideal age to learn children to swim?
As there is no such thing as too early. So the American Academy of Pediatrics recently revised their policy and say as young as 1 year old. There are also programs that can successfully teach children to roll on their back, find the surface, and float to self-rescue as early as 6 months. So this is a skill that can save them when they're young, but they can also carry with them for the rest of their life. The key to drowning I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I will let you finish.
Yeah, the key to drowning prevention is really layers of protection. Drowning happens in a moment. And there are so many small things that lead up to the incident, little places where something could have been different. So layers of protection is how you really save yourself and you save your kids. And the best layer that you can protect your children with is really teaching them to rescue themselves. And that's finding the surface, rolling on their back, and floating.
Hallie, as you know, a big danger in the lake is structural currents. Can you briefly explain what they are and how people can escape them?
Yes, structural currents happen along structures, so piers and break walls. And when the wind comes, it pushes waves up against the currents and creates a washing machine effect. So one easy drowning prevention strategy is to not enter the water near structures like piers or break walls. And also to know when there's wind, there's waves. And when there are waves, there are currents. We might feel confident if we've been in the ocean that we can jump a wave and get up and jump the next wave. But the ocean is so vast that the waves, we have 10 to 15 seconds between each one. And the salt is also buoyant. It keeps us buoyant. In the lake, the water's colder, we're not reacting, and the waves are coming in every 2 seconds. So you get knocked down. By the time you bring your head up again, you get knocked down again. That causes panic, and panic kills.
Hallie, we have less than 30 seconds. Real quick, if you can tell us what the city can do best to make the beaches safer.
Yes, right now they can expand lifeguard hours, and they probably won't be able to immediately. So we are advocating for life rings on beaches, publicly accessible rescue devices. There are lots of reasons people end up in the water, and we want to make sure that we can help them without getting in the water ourselves.
Excellent. Hallie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for those excellent recommendations. We want to thank you for joining us this evening.
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me.
Up next, an American Legion post honoring Latino veterans. Please stay with us. The American Legion was chartered in 1919 as a veterans organization serving those who fought in World War I. Over the years, the organization expanded to include all who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. But even as the American military has become more racially diverse, the makeup of most American Legion posts has given it a persistent image as a place for older, mostly white male veterans. Now, a Chicago man has decided it's time to change that, but making a new place for Latino veterans to find community. Chicago Tonight's Erika Gunderson has a story.
When I joined the United States Army in 2007, when I arrived for basic in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which we arrived at the airport, so it was at Oklahoma City, you had Legionnaires there. And right away, they gave us snacks and they fed us. And they're like, here, sign this paper, sign this paper. You're in the American Legion now. You're good to go.
The century-old veterans organization, the American Legion, counts all who served active duty in any of the branches of the American Armed Forces as members. But even though they were members, for young Latino veterans like Marcos Torres and Daniel Del Rivero, it didn't seem like a place for veterans like them.
I just knew they were kind of a veteran social club who wore, specific unique hats. And I thought they were just an older generation of veterans.
Once his time in service was done, Torres had forgotten all about his brief encounter with the American Legion. But he still sought out the company of veterans in his community. After hosting his own Veterans Day events for a few years, Torres visited American Legion Tattler Post 973, and inspiration struck.
I fell in love. I fell in love with it. I mean, everybody was amazing. And so I started asking questions like, hey, where do I find my Latino brothers? Where do I find my African American brothers? Where are they at? Why don't they have a post? And so I decided, you know what, we need to start an American Legion post that represents those soldiers in that community. So that way we make sure that they're getting taken care of and they're being spoken for.
Tattler Post Commander Brent Webb helped Torres get a rare new American Legion post chartered. In 2019, Sergeant Jason Vasquez Post 939 became official.
I think that what Post 939 is doing is something that's really remarkable. Marcos and the team that he's built has done something that is going to bring together a part of the veteran community that has felt disconnected, and I'm here to support that 100% because I couldn't think of something that's more American, that's more patriotic than wanting to bring together the individuals that want to do good for our neighbors.
Torres and his team are building a post with a distinctly and intentionally Latino identity. Its name honors a 24-year-old National Guardsman who was killed in Afghanistan in 2008. Torres led the honor guard that laid Jason Vasquez to rest.
So Jason Vasquez, also known, we knew him as J-Rock, Mr. Logan Square. We shared a ton of similarities, and so I knew that easily his story could be mine.
What a wonderful thing that Jason would have a name or be part of a legion that it would be in our community, and it would be like, hey, we're Latinos too. We wear uniforms just like any other career, and somewhere to celebrate and come together. We're just grateful and honor. Yeah, it means a lot,
Even the post's number is Latino.
939 is one of the area codes for Puerto Rico, and it's just kind of our little trademark, our watermark that'll continue long before or long after we leave.
Post 939 has a distinct mission too, supporting Latino veterans' mental health by offering community and representation.
There's a big phrase in the military, it's called suffer in silence. When I was in the job I did, if you asked for any sort of mental help, you were essentially ineffective. You weren't doing your job, you weren't helping your buddies out. And that's something that's kind of, I think, going along with the culture of veterans. I think that's something we can change.
With regards to the veteran community, we know that they are at higher risks for suicide, homelessness, unemployment and underemployment. And so it's our job, our responsibility as an American Legion post to attack systematically these issues, one by one, for all veterans, but particularly we would like to address the Latino population as well.
As a Latino veteran, our needs are different. Our environment is different. Our music is different. Our food is different. We're always known as the culture that always wants to dance and have a good time. But at the same time, we want to share the experiences we have as veterans, share our history. The Borinqueneers, the Puerto Ricans that served in Vietnam.
If you do go to a post, you don't see pictures of Roy Benavides. He was a Medal of Honor recipient. You don't see anything that explains or that talks about the 10,000 Mexican Americans who fought in the Union Army fighting against slavery. Because when we come back from deployments or we come back from our service, it's important to keep on seeing those things so that we can thrive.
The leaders of Jason Vasquez Post 939 are scouting locations for a home base in Logan Square or Humboldt Park. But until they find that place, they're meeting here at the Tattler Post in Lincoln Square. And they're recruiting.
It's a welcoming space where they can come, they can laugh, they can joke, they can still feel that camaraderie. It's really healing to a lot of veterans.
Post 939 is on the march, and we are looking for people that want to be a part of this mission with us as well.
For Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, this is Erica Gunderson.
And well, Jason Vasquez Post 939 and Tattler Post 973 are hosting a memorial ceremony and commemoration on Monday. You can find details on our website.